Hi, and welcome to the Virtually Yours podcast, Outsourcing Mysteries Exposed, the no BS hustle-free podcast for business owners who outsource or provide outsourcing services. I'm your host, Rosie Shiloh, virtual assistant advocate and owner of Virtually Yours, the Virtual Assistant Network. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Virtually Yours podcast. There we go. Hello, everyone. It's Rosie Shiloh here, and today I have Kasia Bourke, who is someone I feel like I know you so well because of both of our online presence, and I think we really support each other's products and services. But today is our first actual real chat. Welcome.
Thank you, Rosie. I feel the same, and thank you for having me, first of all, but I do feel the same. It's like a first sort of face-to-face, but it feels like we've been in each other's face for like ages. Yeah, it's nice. So a little while ago, I was thinking about doing a podcast around this topic, so imposter syndrome, which is something that I've always been really fascinated with. And I think that it's one of those things that really the current climate is like the perfect breeding ground, isn't it, for that to kind of really flare up and brew. What do you think? Yes, the current climate and personal experiences, it all meshes in together. So thank you for inviting me for this.
let's just bring it all up.
This is my jam, imposter syndrome.
Yeah. So your presence online seems really calm and confident. Do you suffer from imposter syndrome?
Oh, I'm glad it comes across that way. Yes. So, particularly because of the area that I work in.
Oh, yes, of course.
In that whole spiritual genre. I still feel very much.
A bit. I forgot to sort of tell people about what you do. So can you give us a bit of an outlay of what you do? Because then people will know what you mean by because of what I do.
Okay, I would love to do that. And please feel free, because I tend to waffle on. So if you want me to go in a particular way, just push me that way. Yes, so I am a past life healer. So I can see past lives, soul's blueprint, like the reason why you came here. And I do a lot of healing work with that. I help individuals connect to their guides and basically see that there's more to them than just this human 3D physical being, that we're not here like accidents of nature. And but unlike many spiritual people, I would not have said I was always spiritual. I was always, seeing ghosts. In fact, I am still uncovering like all these puzzles of these pieces of this puzzle. Like my family, and I want to give you a little bit of a background so you see where that imposter came in for me, because I feel very much like a newbie in this industry, to be honest with you. I work with some amazing mentors who've been living, breathing, this, whether they're a witch, whether they're, a psychic or a medium. They've been doing this for like 20 plus years, right? And my family, so I only just discovered this, since I started doing this work, that we're sixth generation psychic. I'm sixth generation psychic. But my mom and my grandma never officially did anything, right? And, the odd aunt comes out and says, well, that makes sense. Now you did, talk about your invisible friends when you were younger, and you were so specific. And the way you described them, it sounded like they're like 1920s paper boy or a flapper. And how would a 5-year-old know this? So, they're bringing these pieces of the puzzle to me. But when I first started, let's say 3 years ago now, when I started going through this awakening, I didn't have any of these stories to go by. So the imposter syndrome was very big, because essentially I am here telling people to believe in something that they don't see, but I see it and I feel it. And then I'm working, and then in the back, I've got my big mentors who've been, like I said, living, breathing, doing this kind of work for, such a long time. And there's those that are very old school and very respectful, like they have a certain way of doing this, and, being respectful to the spirits they work with, to the clients. And then there's the new agey people. So this whole spiritual sector is so beautiful, so loving, so welcoming, but it's very easy to feel the imposter syndrome. Like, what do I know? Like, how can I be so lucky to be connecting with these divine beings and bringing through this information and, talking to someone's loved one? Every time I feel like, that imposter syndrome creeps up on me. Because especially when I first started, like I said, I didn't have this knowing. I didn't, it's not like you go to university, let's say, and you study to be a dentist, right? And then you finish that and you get your certificate and you're like, okay, I'm a dentist now, right? Whether you're a newbie or not, you have that paper to kind of go like, here you go. This is a validation. I don't have a validation. I don't have this kind of paper, right? And so I really just had to learn how to overcome that sort of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that is, yes, spot on. And it's funny because I hadn't really thought about that so much when I asked you about how it's actually way more of a thing for you given the topic that you talk about. And so I'm so glad that we're talking about this today, because there are a lot of business owners out there who are struggling with it, and they've got the physical evidence right there that they can use, and they still struggle. So, you don't have that. You've got so much more that's based on, faith and believing in what you're presenting, and faith in you. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So you've got to this point now where, I'm guessing that it still crops up all the time, but how are you getting to the point where you can keep showing up and working through that?
I think the best way to answer it is the way I answer it for my students who are so keen to see spirit, so keen to get their gifts going. The thing is, it's not so much the exercises that you do or the techniques. A lot of it has to do with the wounds that you need to heal, the mindset that you need to change, that perhaps the beliefs that you have that need to shift. Because if you feel unworthy of receiving these informations, like, who am I to be receiving this kind of information from these benevolent beings? It's not that you feel unworthy in this particular area only. You feel unworthy in other areas of your life. If you don't trust what is coming through, it's not just that you don't trust because you can't see. You don't trust because you don't trust yourself. That even without seeing, even without evidence, you still speak the truth. You still bring through information. And the other thing is also, given current circumstances in this situation, my guides are always saying, look for the positives. Like, be that break in someone's, reality, that sort of sad, negative reality, like, instead of kind of amplifying it more. So I very much feel, I guess the imposter that creeps up for me at the moment is so that my reality feels a little bit different from a lot of people, because, like, I've got kids at home as well. We're in lockdown in Melbourne. But I can see so much amazingness from being at home, the connections, the way I get to still connect and help people. We get to go for walks. So I see this, but sometimes you get called either ignorant, like you feel like you should do more, you should talk more about this stuff, even though it's not helping so much, because it's just maybe bringing more negativity to the situation, but people want you to talk more about it. But then on the other hand, if you are too much love and light, people don't like it. But if you join sort of the many voices who are currently sad, who are, experiencing really hardship, who are, and they really have reasons to feel the feelings that they feel. If I join them, I'm not helping them either, because, it's kind of like blind leading the blind then, isn't it? Or trying to find a way through it.
It amplifies it, doesn't it?
It amplifies it. It doesn't really help. And the thing is, I mean, I'm not one to share memes that say, do this or do that, or feel this way or don't feel that way, because again, that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help people there. It doesn't help the people that are suffering, right? But in imposter, for me, that whole syndrome is really amplified now because of the way I feel, because of what I'm trying to do, bring that sort of positivity, show people that, we'll get through this. It's going to be okay. There's so much more on the other side. But then at the same time, I'm kind of trying to convince people to believe in something they can't see. So I've got to go first here, right? And I think because we share same beliefs around, food and animals. And again, it's that whole, you don't want to push it on people. You don't want to convince people, but you want to lead with example. And you don't, and that always kind of comes up against people who don't like it, people who disagree, people who will try to convince you you're wrong, right? It's always like that. At any moment, at any time, you can feel that imposter syndrome within you. The only difference, I guess, between me and maybe someone who really feels it and is stuck in it is that I can see the beast for what it is now. And I'm like, I see you. I know what's happening here. All right, let's shift this.
Yeah. So could you always see it? Did it ever just sit there with you and hold you back? Like you can see that happens for other people. Did that ever happen for you?
Yeah. So I always think that if you want to work with spirits, with your guides, whether it's professionally or just have them in your life, you will undergo the biggest healing, the biggest shifts, the biggest things, because in order to connect with them, in order to receive the messages, again, it's not about the things you do. It's not about the techniques that you use to practice it, or whether you're born with this gift or not. It's about going into these, shadows, as we call it, and acknowledging, oh, that's something that keeps coming up for me. So I can allow it to kind of grow bigger and stop me, or what can I do to shift it so that then I can be this clear channel? It always comes back to, see, for us, it feels like in order to connect, we have to be a clear channel. So in order to be a clear channel, you have to get rid of the noise, the clutter, the chatter, the opinions, the thoughts that are in your head, the beliefs. So every time you will be reminded of it. And this was so much for me. I was waiting for, when I think the first psychic said, you're clairvoyant, I thought I'm going to see a ghost, like Patrick Swayze in Ghost, right? And that doesn't happen to everyone. And it doesn't happen if you have fears, whether they're conscious or subconscious, right? So again, I go okay, how do I shift it? How do I move it? How do I see them? How do I experience them? How do I hear them more? And in order to do that, that's where you got to do all this work, right? So imposter syndrome for me, as it started popping up, not just that I felt inferior to standing alongside my heroes, my mentors, but it was more, well, who am I to do this work? Who am I to tell people this, right? And so I had to move out of this. I had to learn how to shift this, because otherwise I would not be able to bring through information. I would not be able to help. And, part of this imposter syndrome is really fear that's sort of disguised as, imposter syndrome, right? So it's fear, really. And
my coach calls it the itty bitty shitty committee, right?
I love that.
I'm kind of wondering now, is the voice of guides different to the voice of the itty bitty shitty committee? Can you tell which one's which?
Yeah, because this is the thing. Everyone is connected. I'm not anything special that I get this special, guy talking to me. We all have it. And we just don't realize this is what it is, right? Often my students go oh, I've been hearing this voice and I thought it's just my thoughts. But here's the thing. Your guides, okay, so if you get the let's say you get these thoughts like, who are you to be doing this? You're not good enough. Look at her, she's doing better. That's not your guides, because your guides don't have an ego. They're here to help you and guide you. So they're not going to stand there and tell you all the negative things to deter you. That's your ego talking. That's, those, your, as I like to say, your reptilian part of the brain is bringing up all this rubbish, all those memories, all those chatter to keep you in this pattern of like, just being you're small you, because now you're safe. But your guides are usually the ones like, let's say, I wonder, Rosie, if this happened to you. You're having a shower, you're not thinking about anything in particular, fully relaxed, and all of a sudden this idea pops in, or this stream of conversation, and you're like, holy crap, before you realize you're having like this conversation in your head, and it all just flows. Maybe it's a post, right? Or maybe when you're driving. Those are your guides.
Oh, driving is my favorite for that. Lately, I've been messaging people through like the voice one, because I'm like, I've just got to tell you, this is what's in my head right now.
Yes, right? This is the thing. I used to actually have to pull over, and I couldn't even type it up quickly enough. So I had my voice memo, and I'm like recording it. That's from your guides, and they're usually like all these divine ideas. Now, we could sit here and argue that, these ideas come from you or through you. The thing is, your guides essentially don't really care whether you take credit for it or whether you say, I'm receiving this information from them. They really don't care, because we're so on a same mission that it doesn't matter whether you're the puppet or whether you're the hand behind the puppet moving the puppet, right? As long as we're doing good here.
I love that.
Yeah. I always say this to my students, because they go like, so should I be telling people that I'm receiving these messages from my guides? But then what if they think I'm crazy? And I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. Do what feels good for you, because the thing is this, and this is what my guide said. Imagine if you are running this little puppet show, right? And you've got your audience and you're standing there behind, no one can see you, they can just see the puppets, and they're laughing and they're having a good time. Do you care that they laugh at the puppet and not at you actually going, oh my God, she's so smart, look how she's moving the puppet? No, who cares, right? We're laughing at the show, the puppets, what you're putting on there. But it's still you, it's still coming from you. So that's what our guides go like, it doesn't matter, we're all kind of connected. And it's all coming through as long as you're here to do good. So if you get any thoughts that are not so good, like, go stick it to her, or like tell her this, or like, tear her down, or tell her she's copying you, that's not your guides. Rose, it's my favorite thing is when someone slips into my messenger and says, your guides or my guides or whatever have told me to message you and tell you that you need to work with me. Oh, please. Guides don't have an ego. They will not push anyone. They will push you. It will be like you'll be drawn to someone, but they will not say, hey, you need to come and work with me, right? Like I would. You will never get this from me.
Oh, that's so funny. I might start using that in my marketing. Yeah, why not? I absolutely love it. It's really resonated with me that guides don't have an ego. So the second there's ego involved, you can start to sort of compartmentalize those messages and step back, as you said at the start. Step back and go, hey, whoa, I see what you're doing here. And this is not in my best interest. This is, you do need to kind of disconnect yourself from it, don't you?
Yeah, so I always say take a step back. Like when this kind of the thought comes in and you're like, oh, was this my guides? Was that my imagination, my ego? I like take a step back and just go like kind of, are you being neutral? Like, for example, if let's say someone said something on the internet, right, that was negative, a troll, and my first instinct is, and I call it instinct, not intuition, but my first reaction, let's say, is tell them off, like tell them how dare they, right? That's ego, right? So my guides always say, take 5 seconds. Just take 5 seconds. Don't respond straight away. Take 5 seconds. And then in that moment, I'm like, okay, what's going on for them? They probably had a bad day. Right? That's my guides are like inviting me into this conversation. Like, have a think about it. Like, just see them as a human here, having their own little experience. Things are happening. They don't have the manual like you do, right? We're not all awakened. We're not all having access to these. I mean, we have access, but we're not aware that we have this information at our fingertips. Not even, but here with us, around us.
Yeah.
And so this human had possibly a really bad day. God knows what's happening for them. Maybe just sprinkle some love. Usually this is what my guides say, sprinkle some love. So there's always this thing. And I think for my students, mostly it's, is that my imagination or is that guides? Is that my ego? Is that guides? So I'm like, if it's not in your interest, if it's not in the interest of this other person, it's your ego. And it's not even like your ego is a bad thing, like some people would say possessed by the devil or something. Your ego is here to keep you alive. Your ego is here to keep you stuck in your pattern, right? And your pattern feels safe. Now, the only problem is that your human mind can't tell the difference between a good pattern that serves you and a pattern that's not beneficial to you. So the best example is with smokers, for example. A smoker, if you want to quit smoking, that's a good thing. But your mind goes, hang on a minute. No, because now look what's happening to us, right? We like to be in this pattern because now we're safe. We know we're going to get our next hit at 12. We know we're going to go to lunch. We're going to have that next hit, right? So a lot of us kind of who don't understand give into it, and we think, ego is bad. Ego is not bad. It's just you got to know how to tickle the ego, keep it friendly, keep it there, but don't give it too much power.
Yeah, because, in business, you need to have some ego. You have to, because you need to be, ego is all about self-preservation. And sometimes usually that's about staying safe, but safety can be around making those sales and keeping other people below you, or making sure that you're ahead of the pack and all those sorts of things. And so it can be both good or bad. So I don't know if this is your area. I just wanted your opinion on this. How can people kind of, I suppose it's based on your own experiences. Everyone's got their own filter about what is good and bad ego, like what ego to listen to and what not to listen to. That's an individual filter, isn't it?
Well, see, it depends whether you're connected with your guides. And I often, when I say this, I feel like I'm, trying to sign up to a sect, like listen to, but I promise you I don't. I just want to really make sure that everyone understands, because the old paradigm was, there's only a selected few who are connected, who are spiritual, who are psychic, and the rest of us are minions and we don't have the power. But actually, working with your guides, like having, like even exit, like knowing that you have this higher self, you have your intuition, like we all have our intuition. If guides feel weird for you, if higher self feels weird for you, or connecting to the source feels weird for you, listen to your intuition. And when you listen to your intuition usually tells you right. It's just that in that moment, if you want to react or do something that you might regret, right? And you kind of know this. I'm like, am I reacting now because I'm emotionally involved and, I'm seeing red and I want to just charge at this person? Or, like my guide said, take 5 seconds, cool off, and just take a higher sort of bird's eye view of the situation and go like, okay, what do I need to do here? Like even responding to clients, so many times, like a client. Now, see, so here's the thing, and I've worked in, different industries and, ran multiple businesses. And when I worked for someone, I hated customer service. I always hated when they said customer is always right and stuff. And I thought I'm really bad at dealing with clients. But when I was working for myself, I realized I'm actually awesome. I am really good, because the thing is, I always give my clients the time to explain, to, say, do I have my boundaries down and let them, I don't know, force me into something that doesn't feel ethically good or doesn't align with my work ethics? No. But I want every client who comes, or every person that comes into my sphere, to feel heard, to feel understood, to feel like when they come into my sphere, they will be taken care of, right? So again, sometimes ego has to be pushed aside and go like, maybe they just need a bit of love. Maybe they're reacting this way, And I have to tell you, Rosie, when I really go from my heart work with everyone, not assuming that people are out to get me or trying to scare me or, trying to get a bargain. I didn't get these type of clients at all. But I always make sure, just like with Spirit, my boundaries are up. I know, how far we can go, how far we can't go. And I always come with love first. So that's me. But I know that takes maybe, because it wasn't always like that. So maybe that takes practice. Maybe that takes the self-awareness.
Bravery. I think it's a really brave space to be in, because the more I lead with my heart. And unfortunately that has resulted in situations where I feel like, okay, I shouldn't have allowed that, or that person's now taken advantage, or whatever it might be. But then the next day I'm like, oh, I want to do this again. And then I'll go out there. And so the last few opportunities I've had in business to kind of really just lead with my heart, I've been really kind of sort of like, I've been hesitant. I still do it because that's who I am, but I'm more vocal about what's playing out in my head with people. It's probably scary for them, but I just go, this is my filter, and this is the result of that filter, and this is what I want to do, but I've got this filter, help me out so that we can still do this thing. And I think it's such a tough thing to do based on, depending on, as I said, what your filter is and what your personal experience is. So having the people around you who respect and nurture that, or having access and listening out for those guides, as you say, are all tools to help you kind of push through those constant questions and concerns in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is, I just want to insert this because I absolutely love the way I see you appear. Because remember how last week in panic mode, I was like, oh my God, did I miss a recording? And you were so cruisy and easygoing. And you're always like that. This is like, I'm like, wow, you're so chilled out. You must be so good with your energy and, controlling your own energy. And this is like something that I'm passionate about, but this is also a form of how I help, I guess, my clients is I make them see that they're not in charge of other people's energies. They're just in charge of their own energy. So if you get someone, like, you can be nice and kind and come from a loving place, but still have your boundaries up, but just the way you say it, right? You don't have to go straight away, rah, 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 attacking, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes you can't cushion someone else's experience just because you want to protect them from, hearing a no and possibly crumbling, right? Or if you, let's say, raise your prices and it feels good for you, and then someone says, oh, you charge too much. Now, if you bend and say, well, let me give you a discount, then you're kind of robbing them of that learning, that experience, perhaps healing their own money wounds, right? You're robbing them, and it takes a piece out of you because it makes you, maybe not straight away, you may not realize it, then, pardon me, but you will eventually see that, so I'm not worthy, my services aren't worthy. Because that's where your mind is very good at reminding you when it comes to, like, something big. They're like, remember that time where you said you're going to charge this much, and then someone came in, first chance, they questioned your prices, and what did you do? You lowered your price. So there you go. You're not worthy. There you go. You're not worthy investing. You're not worthy charging more. So I feel like it's just really being in charge of just your own energy and understanding that, the way people react to what you put out, as long as your intentions are good, it doesn't really matter, right? That's their experience. You're having your own experience, and you possibly are connected by, life lessons that you guys help each other to learn.
Yeah, you could be, people don't take credit for the lessons that they're putting out each and every day with their interactions, do they?
Yeah. It's like, even that last week, I was like, I need to be more relaxed, like Rosie, because I was in panic mode. I was like, oh my God, I'm running late for this, interview. And then you said, but it's next week. I'm like, there you go. You got to slow down. You got to read the whole message properly. But I was so panicky.
You know what's funny? I did the same, well, not the same thing. Yesterday, I was supposed to be in, I had a call, and I did not see the Zoom link for that anywhere. And I'm just sitting there going, I don't know what's happening. Are they calling me? What's going on? And then I get a message from them going, what's happening? And I'm like, I don't know where the Zoom link is. And I'm thinking, right. And they've got it was emailed. I can re-email it. So I do a quick search in my inbox, like for the keywords and stuff. And I just wrote back to them going, oh, dang it. Found it. I'll see you in a sec. And that was as stressed as I got about it. But in the past, I would have been like, wah! But now, I'm more selective. Like, I'll still rage about things, definitely, but I'm more selective about what I will allocate that rage to.
Right?
Most days.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And it's still learning. This is what I always say. You're here learning these life lessons for the whole term. Like, you're not here. Life lesson is not something that once a situation happens and you master it, you're like, dang, I can tick that one off. No. The universe will keep popping it up to make sure that you really anchored it in, because often life lessons have carried through lifetimes. And so it's not a quick little one situation fix. So the pattern might repeat itself till you're like, okay, I get it now. Like, I know it. I'm there now. I'm not stressing out about this anymore. You can let go of that life lesson and bring on the next one.
If you don't mind, please move on. Yeah.
Yes, right. And even with us, we had a bit of a delayed start here, and just as easily you could have been like, holy crap, what is happening? Where is she? Da 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 da, right? And I could have been like, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting. We were like, I don't know what was happening. But sometimes, how with technology, you end up in two different rooms, and it's not this one's fault. It's not this one's fault. It's like technology, and you just kind of miss each other. But if we start getting angry and upset about thinking the other person is probably letting me down, oh my God, she's so irresponsible, or she always, we just waste a lot of energy for nothing. And it wasn't even the other person's fault, right?
And you can lose massive amounts of energy. I think last year or the year before, I was doing some online training and Facebook kept booting me out. And the last one, I should share this as a link, was basically me. I was like fuming, and I was like, I'm just on here to let you know that I am now beyond being able to train anyone, because my fury levels are out of control, and I now need to step away. I just end. So amazing. Just like, just go.
No, that's so amazing, though. See the self-awareness. Like, sometimes it's okay to do that, because I always say you don't want to come from the wrong place. You don't want to be coming from this angry place, because then your delivery will be different, right? Yeah. And having the self-awareness and kind of going, you know what, let's nip this in the bud now. Let's just have a little break. We'll come back to this, or we'll reschedule, or we'll do something else. I feel like it's so much better than kind of pushing. And I always believe that everything happens in divine time. Everything is meant to happen as it happens. I don't believe that a future is set in stone. We have free will, but I do believe that synchronicities happen for a reason.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a big believer too that, the universe is listening and testing. And so you've got to be careful what you throw out. Whether you're thinking it or saying it or doing it, you've got to be careful what you throw out. And I think for a lot of people, that's actually a really massive element for the imposter syndrome, because they kind of sit in it and they allow that, and they might complain about it and be thinking about it all the time. And from my understanding of, like, with my life journey, the universe is just going to give you more of it, because it seems to be what you're wanting, because that's what you're focusing on. And so that's why that step back is so powerful. It's stepping back and going, okay, well, what's going on here? Where do I want to be feeling? Like, what's the area, the vibe that I want to be feeling each and every day? And how can I just consciously step across to that, in the end, that's just going to be kind of where I hang out. Because you can very, very easily just stay there.
Yes. I see. It's interesting, because my astral team always goes like this. Imagine you're a magnet, and in front of you is a pile of nails, and you're going to attract those nails. But if you just step aside a little bit, behind you, there could be glitter, wonderful, sequins and stuff, all this lovely thing. And all you had to do is just step away from this slightly to the left, and all of a sudden you're attracting different things, right? But also the universe is a great teacher. And I always say, you know, if you, or for me, I should say for me, whenever I say something like, you know, this is how it is, you know, you just got to lead with love, just be kind, just see the human, you know, in this person, something will always happen in my universe. It's like this thing here, talking the talk. Let's see if you can walk the walk, right? And I'm like, oh, well played, well played. But it's so good because it's kind of like, you know, being a coach who has had a fantastic life, never felt, you know, unworthy, or never had any issues with self-love, but they decide, I want to help women with self-love, so I'm going to take a course, I'm going to become a professional coach, ticks off all the boxes, right? And then goes and teaches. But then you have a person who had all these horrendous things happen to them, bullying, you know, they suffered from, you know, lack of love, you know, and they overcame it. And now they're using this to have this deeper understanding and help other people. But they're like, well, I'm not a professionally trained coach, so I don't know if I can step into this arena. But I go like, you know what, but you've got all this life experience. So if nothing else, whatever you want to call yourself, but you have this life experience and you can connect with your client on that deeper level. Not to say that the other coach isn't as well, but it's just different. And so
they've both got different type of qualifications.
Yes, different type of qualifications. But I feel like sometimes we think if we don't have, I mean, obviously I wouldn't encourage anyone to go and do brain surgery if you haven't actually, you know, gone through medical school and done all that, you know, that's probably not a good thing, you know. But, you know, like even for me, the things that I say, my guides always remind me in my world, like, remember, this is what happened, this is how you dealt with it, so now you can. So I don't just tell them stuff that they tell me, but I tell them, okay, and when this happened to me, this is how I dealt with it, this is how I released the energy, this is how I moved past it, you know. And it constantly they remind me, you know, like of all these things, so that I don't just bring through these wise words, but then behind scenes I'm like this mean person that's just like a keyboard warrior, you know, like, you know, getting angry at everyone.
You've got, some people learn better from theory and others from case studies. So for me, it's the case studies, and I'm the same as you. That's how I teach. And I love that I have in business, I have stuffed up things, I have broken things, I have said the wrong thing, and, you know, I'm still here. You know, bruised and scarred and battered, but still loving it. And that is a really, really great qualification to then be able to support other people. And you know, it took me a long time to start sort of coaching and teaching other VAs, because I was always like, well, who am I? Like, as you're saying, who am I? I don't have any qualifications around that. And, you know, I'm no bigger or better, and I'm not making $1 million a year and all this sort of thing. And it's not about that at all. It's about how you can connect with certain people who you're meant to connect with and help them move forward towards what it is that they're trying to achieve. It's as simple as that.
Yes. Well, you know what's interesting, Rosie? I actually just remembered how I stumbled into your world. I remember there was a free event, and you were part of the lineup, and this would have been maybe 2019 that you were part, and maybe it was, I don't know whether it was organized by now a mutual friend or my ex-coach, business coach, but you were one of the presenters. Mm-hmm. And you had that pink hair, which I love pink hair anytime. Like,
I love the pink hair.
I know, this is like what I want, right? My hair is washed out now. I'm due for a hairdresser. But anyways, I remember watching you, and I was connecting with you because I got like, oh my God, you know, like the way you spoke, like it just, and I cannot even remember what it was. It was possibly business help, something, you know, that you were, but I was like so, for lack of a better word, activated by your words and the way you were. And it was, you know, if you ask me like what made you stand out more than the other presenters that were also women in business, I can't even say, okay, the hair, but, you know, it was just something. And then when I clicked through your profile, And I'm like, oh my God, she's a vegan too. This is when we need to be friends. We have, like that in common as well. And I'm like, there was something, right? There was something. And I know, like, it's with some people, you just want to have the, like, I want to have you in my friend list because we never know how our worlds will collide. I know you run and you've done, do you do triathlons or marathons? Yeah, I know, amazing stuff. And I know you're busy as well. And there were a few moments where I'm like, oh, we need to have something together, and it will happen, right? It will happen.
Yes.
But I just go, this is how I connected with you, right? There were possibly other VAs there, like, but that's how I go, like, okay, this person stands out to me, and the only way I can explain it is the energy, right? The energy. So we actually don't realize how powerful our energy is. It's not just what you say, what certificates you have, but the way you step into your arena and present the stuff that you do know. You don't need to know more than XYZ. You don't need to know more than the influential, whatever, super VA. You just need to know, your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just allow it to come through, because your people will connect with that. They will connect with that, right? Like you said, your words, it's something.
That's so awesome. That is the coolest thing ever. But it is like that. I actually saw someone the other day, a webinar. So I was watching, there's 2 different webinars. They're all pre-recorded. One of them I was like, oh, yeah, that's nice. And the other one, as soon as I saw her start talking, I was like, oh, I don't know. I just instantly felt more of a connection. And it is around how they show up, how they present, the quirkiness of them, the quirky level, that's always a factor. But yeah, just owning what you bring to the table and being, as I love that you said, you don't need to know more than you know. Some people feel like they've got to keep getting qualifications and more before they can finally go, yeah, I'm actually good at this. Well, everyone around them is going, can you not see how amazing you are? And it breaks their hearts just to go, you don't see it, and I can see that you don't see it. And what can you do?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? That's the thing. This is what I mean. It's like, if you don't have to worry about all that. All you have to worry is just, like, I have this little ritual that I do always before any live. And I'm like, if you can center yourself, just be present, just acknowledge your energy, that you have a presence, that you will know the right things will flow out. Like, even in any of my sessions, I don't have notes. Nothing is pre-thought out, pre-planned, because for me, I'm not saying this is how it has to run, but for me, if I have notes in any of my sessions, I actually get sidetracked, because sometimes I've got guides talking and bringing through information, and then I'm looking at my notes, and I often say, it feels to me like I'm talking to one of my kids, and then the other kid is talking to me at the same time, like, mommy, blah, 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 and I can't hear them, but I can't concentrate on a conversation. So for me, notes actually doesn't help. Now, the other thing is, like, the stuff that I'm talking about, this is something good for your to kind of show imposter syndrome, because when things like soul groups, star seeds were coming through, I never had an affinity for, Star Wars planets. I still can't keep track of where all the different star seeds are from. But one thing that my mentor said from the beginning is, till you know your stuff from your guides, don't go looking for it on the internet, because it will muddle up the stuff. There's so many because we're tapping into stuff that's, it's not a fact. It's just the way we receive the information goes through our filters. Sometimes you will have people saying one thing, then you go to another website, they contradict that, they have a different experience, and it can get very confusing. So I had to really listen to that as it was coming through, trust whatever is coming through about these star seeds, soul groups, and have enough faith to kind of go, like, well, I don't know if I know as much as this person that was doing channeling, for 20 years. I don't know if I'm bringing through the same thing as Edgar Cayce, but this is the stuff, and it landed with people, and it was resonating. And I always say, whatever I tell you, put it through your filter. If it doesn't resonate, it's absolutely fine. I'm sure there's someone else out there who you will resonate more. Maybe you'll get your own information. But this is how I'm bringing it through, right? This is how, and I think the best way, I don't know if you know, my favorite story is like the story of the six blind man and the elephant, and that is like probably the best way I always beat imposter syndrome. I'm like, just imagine you are like this blind man who's standing in front of this part of the elephant, and that's what you're experiencing, but someone else might be somewhere else, right? Experiencing something different. It's okay. You bring your stuff to the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw that you had that post there the other day about, and I haven't read it yet, about the elephant and the man.
My favorite story. It's so good.
Oh, there you go. I'll have to grab that and we'll put it with this. Now, on that note, we're going to have to finish up. We've run out of time, but clearly we could talk about this all day, every day. And I think one of the key things to remember that I actually, really heard then is, and I'm a big believer of, is one, we're all human, and we keep forgetting that each other is human and that we've all got our own experiences and filters that we're experiencing things with. And that means that very little is absolute and utter fact. And we need to remember that day to day and sort of, as you said, sprinkle a little love and be kind to yourself and to everyone around you. Thank you so much for coming along and having that chat today. I've absolutely loved it. And we're going to be doing lots of stuff in the future. So people, keep your eyes open.
We will. Thank you, Rosie, for having me. This was so beautiful. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Virtually Yours podcast, Outsourcing Mysteries Exposed. Between now and our next session, I know you're going to be hanging out to take some action on outsourcing in your business, so head on over to virtuallyyours.com.au and you can download some information there about the best ways to outsource for business growth. If you're a virtual assistant, make sure you join us. We have an amazing virtual assistant community at Virtually Yours, Aussie VAs connecting and helping each other grow. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you at the next podcast.